is correct. Children. Friday, December 11th. Hey, look, there's an 11 in the date. 11. It's coming back to haunt me again. 11-year-olds are awful.
You are so
sorry, just on a rant. Except for mine. Mine's just crazy. This advanced class, we're going to get into talking about bombs going off in the Outsiders. Maybe we'll get to one of our first. We will. No, we're going to get to one of the first bombs because we get to the bomb in the church, and then we'll see if we can get to some of the other bombs when we get to that.
Oh my God!
That actually makes pretty sense. For coming up, Zoom tight. Your goal is to get to the end of chapter 8 for Monday, because we're going to have to get to the end of the whole book by next Tuesday, is your next checkpoint for those of you who are trying to figure out how much to put off before you get to the bombs. We do have the dance after school today, for those of you who will be there. It's awesome. It's wintry time. Tie game was reindeer, because I wore reindeer every day, because they're fuzzy. And let's see, checkpoints coming up from there, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. That, we've covered the Fountain Park and how to get a haircut. What is all blue jeans jacket, hydrogen peroxide, that person, gone with the wind. Church! So now we get to this part.
That's my lock screen.
Okay. With them being out in the church is when they're sitting there trying to waste time and they're waiting, and then one morning Pony Boy wakes up early and goes outside, and then Johnny comes and sits next to him, and they have that nice little moment where they get to bond. They're like, sunrises are amazing, and they high-five each other and all kinds of great stuff. And then all of a sudden, Pony Boy breaks out into a poem, as you do, as guys do when they hang out with each other. You just suddenly like, it's time for poetry, and you just start going into it. I know. It's like you were a boy once, a long time ago. And so this particular poem is going to come back later on in the story and have quite a bit of relevance. So I want to get into what the poem means and what it says. So it starts off with, actually let's back up. Let me read it from the actual book. Let me see what pages. There, where are you? Poemy. There it is. Page 77. This is when they're out there. I'm going to read that little section with their little conversation back and forth. Actually, it's the bottom of page 76. One morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Johnny and I slept huddled together for warmth. Dally had been right when he said it would get cold where we were going. Being careful not to wake Johnny up, I went to sit on the steps and smoke a cigarette. The dawn was coming then. All the lower valley was covered with mist, and sometimes little pieces of it broke off and floated away in small clouds. The sky was lighter in the east, and the horizon was a thin golden line. The clouds changed from gray to pink, and the mist was touched with gold. There was a silent moment when everything held its breath, and then the sun rose. It was beautiful. Golly, Johnny's voice beside me made me jump. That sure was pretty. Yeah, I sighed, wishing I had some paint to do a picture with while the sight was still fresh in my mind. The mist was what was pretty. It was all gold and silver. Uh-huh, I said, trying to blow a smoke ring. It's too bad it can't stay like that all the time. Nothing gold can stay. I was remembering a poem I read once. What? Well, nature's first green is gold. Her heart is hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. Johnny was staring at me. Well, where did you learn that? That's what I meant. Robert Frost wrote it. He meant more to it than I'm getting, though. I was trying to find the meaning the poet had in mind, but it eluded me. I always remembered it because I never quite got what he meant by it. You know, Johnny said slowly, I never noticed colors and clouds and stuff until you kept reminding me about them. Seems like they were never there before. He thought for a minute. Your family sure is funny. And then they get into an argument about what do you mean by funny? But back to the little poemy thing. Trayson.
There are two people in this classroom. The ones who haven't read to the end of the book and look at us like we're crazy, and then the people who are having a seizure because they have read the end of the book.
Then they understand how it connects to the end, which is why we...
No!
Not mildly distracting while I was trying to read, trying to calculate, while reading, trying to calculate how many points do I charge them while I'm trying to do this, as you're doing calisthenics in the middle of me reading.
We were saying
Doing jumping jacks, yeah, I saw. So, into the poem and what it's trying to get across. It says, nature's first green is gold, her hardest cue to hold. The idea being is that when nature starts off, it's the fact that before you can get to all the pretty stuff, you have to get to the beginning growing stuff. In springtime, things don't just pop straight into like the flowers and blooming. First you have to have the little green nubbins and this thing called grass and stuff like that. So you have to have this place for it to start. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. The idea that we have beauty. You have flowers that pop up. And do the flowers stay all the time? No. Eventually flowers have to go away. The flowers are beautiful. Springtime is beautiful. Summer is beautiful. But that can't be there forever. Eventually it has to disappear. The leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. The idea that eventually you have fall, you have winter, things are going to have to die, they have to move on, you can't keep those pretty things forever. The reference to Eden, you guys know what Eden is?
The place.
Yes, it is a place. Nailed it so far. Specifically,
It's a Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve.
there you go. Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden. The idea that the Garden of Eden was a place of happiness. There was no evil. It was a place of perfection until you introduced snakes. And women. But that's a whole different thing.
It's true.
Oh my gosh. Everything is so clear now.
That was how you're supposed to react. I'm proud of you for lashing out.
I'm about to lash out very hard.
With the Eden sank to grief, the idea that Eden was this place of perfection and happiness, but perfection and happiness can't last forever. Eventually, even it had to give in to the darkness and the badness. So dawn goes down today. The idea that you start your day with happiness. Dawn, except in my house with an 11-year-old. But so the fact that you wake up and the day starts wonderfully, but then you get to school and there's the crazy evil teachers and the rest of the day, and you're like, it's awful, why have to deal with people? And it goes all downhill. But that moment when you wake up and you first get up, everything's in front of you. There's nothing but happiness there, right in front of you. And then you get to the day and you're like, oh, it was all an illusion. My life is awful. And then you get to all the sadness and stuff like that. But for a moment, there's happiness there. The idea of that last line, nothing gold can stay, is a metaphor. This whole poem is trying to tell you something. What is the whole poem trying to tell you? Johnny?
Something that lasts forever.
One, nothing lasts forever. Specifically, what doesn't last forever? It's not just that nothing lasts forever, but it's going towards a very specific thing. Yeah, what does the gold stand for? That's the metaphor part. Wash. Getting closer. McKenna.
No, don't do it. Childhood?
Not bad. The idea.
I saw that online.
Yeah.
So.
It's the idea of here. It's the happiness. Happiness doesn't last forever. And the idea that when you're a kid, you're happy. When you're young, you're happy. And then as you get older, you get bitter and angry, and you have to deal with other children, and you're just like, I hate everything. And so, and then it goes downhill. But when you're a little kid, life is happy. But that doesn't last forever. Eventually, you have to become an adult. And there's no such thing as like happy adults. They're all angry, bitter people. And so, not excluding me, I'm crazy. Exception. And so the idea that nothing gold can stay. So when you have gold in your life, hold on to it. When you have those happy moments, hold on to them. So it's the idea that the goldness will eventually disappear. Like B points can disappear. Hint. Jackal.
Can you please stop talking about that?
The nothing gold can stay part? Yeah.
Over and over and over again. It's driving me crazy.
Because and for those of you who have not gotten to that part yet, it comes back and there is a conversation between characters at the end about being able to remain happy and what keeps you happy in life. And it plays a big role towards the end. And it's one of the bombs that go off. Yes.
Do you hear that? It's Jackal, Knigget, McKenna, and DePew's brains shattering.
Yeah, it's good for them.
I'm not brain.
This video is going to be like, you hear him like squealing.
Then, after he does the whole poem thing, let's jump from there. Now we get to go through more of the actual story. They're surprised. Someone shows up and comes to talk to them. And who shows up to come talk to them?
Dally.
Dally shows up. It turns out that this is where the whole, Dally hates everyone. Apparently he doesn't, because he shows up out there and he's like, hey, you guys want to go get some food? And they're like, boo diggity. And they decide that they want to go get food and leave the church. They take off. And he brings Ponyboy a note. Who's the note from? Soda Pop. And what does Soda Pop say? Yeah, we miss you. Come back home. Derry's really sorry for slapping you because he was a hater. He's like, he's just an angry. Once again, to go along these things, does Derry have gold in his life?
No.
Not enough of it. Basically, he does have gold in his life. But the problem is he is not treating the gold the right way. Because what is Derry's gold? Ponyboy. Because he sees the fact that Ponyboy can have the life he didn't have. Derry didn't get to go to college. Derry didn't get to have this big life. And so he realizes Ponyboy gets to do all the things that Derry didn't, and he wants to make sure that Ponyboy can. But it's much like in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons when the big monster picks up the rabbit and he was like, it's so pretty and I love it. And he's trying to end up. Or if you have a little kitten and you pick up the little kitten and you're like a little 3-year-old, the 3-year-old's like, look, it's a kitten. And the eyes don't stay like that. You're like, no! It's like, the eyes. That's what Derry's doing to Ponyboy. Derry's holding on to Ponyboy. Mr. Brovicast, you're nailing those metaphors. Thanks. Derry's holding on to Ponyboy, but he's holding on so tight when he's squeezing Ponyboy, going like, don't make poor choices. And Ponyboy's eyes keep going, it's freaking Ponyboy out. So that's what Soda Pop's letter, he's like, hey, Derry's sorry that he's squeezing so hard that your eyeballs keep popping out. And Ponyboy's like, oh, I understand now. And then things work out well from there. It'll probably work out best. Yeah, too late. I'm going to have you walk around the back side of the camera, and I'm going to have you sit over here behind Aaliyah so that you're far. Yeah, we're breaking it. It's okay. And then we're going to send you back over there to that chair. Yeah. Learning. Baby steps. So, now, no. Learning happens for me too, special child. So now we have the note, and we find out that Derry cares, and they go out to eat. While they're out there eating, we find out that there is someone that is helping Dally and the other greasers. And who is this helping Dally and the other greasers? Aaliyah. Cherry. She's like, and because Cherry feels bad about the whole thing, she's like, I'm here to help you. And so she's helping him out. And then Dally, we find out that Dally maybe has a little crush going on the Cherry girl. She's like, oh, she's kind of a hottie. Oh, man, she's all sassy. And then, of course, Ponyboy's like, oh, she likes you too. Oh, teenagers in love. And so we have that issue going. But most importantly, Johnny makes a big decision while they were out eating. And he finds out about the fact that with all this stuff going into it, what big decision does he end up making to Pew?
He's going to go turn himself in.
Why is he going to turn himself in? FC?
Isn't one reason because this is no life for Ponyboy?
One of it, yeah. He's like, Ponyboy. He's like, you didn't do anything. He's like, I did all the stabbing and the killing, and you're throwing your life away. He was like, I don't have family I love. He's like, you have family you love. He's like, I don't want you to have to keep being on the lam the entire time. So that's one part of it. The other thing is, he feels he's not going to get in as much trouble. He's like, he's like self-defense. Things should work out all right. He's like, it should be good. How does Dally feel about about Johnny going and turning himself in? No idea. Have we not got FC?
He feels that Johnny's being really stupid.
And he's like, because he's like, no matter what, you killed a Soch, and people seem to frown on that, and Soches are important, and you're not, because you're a greaser. He's like, you're probably going to go to jail, and jail does not equal goldness. And so he's like, you can pretty much just take your goldness and go, look at you, and throw it away. Has Dally been in jail?
Yes.
Does Dally have goldness? No.
Why?
Well, okay. Well, technically we find out he has a little bit of, much like Derry has his gold, Dally has his gold. And what is Dally's gold? Not Cherry. He just thinks she's a cutie. Johnny. And so that's why he didn't smack him at the movie theater, because he actually does like Johnny. If he didn't, would Dally have stopped himself from hitting Ponyboy? No. Or 2-Bit? No, but at least for Dally, he's like, I'm not going to hit you because You're my little bit of gold. And so you have that little bit there. For Dally, it's not much, but baby steps, it's something. Then, we should see. The church, we're still good to go there, right? Is that still... Yes, we're still good to go to the church. I thought so. We get back to the church to go grab their stuff, and that's where our second bomb. Bob was the first bomb. Second bomb goes off of the 5 bombs that are in the story. And when we get back to the church, we find out something has changed. And what has changed when we get back to the church, Mo?
Fire.
There's a fire. The roof is on fire. And so we get back and find out that the whole church is on fire. Not only is the church on fire, but they have visitors that are there. And who are the visitors that are there, Trayson?
The 5 kids trapped inside the...
Works for me. Well, at least kids. But yeah, the fact that there was like, a field trip. Because that's where you take field trips to when you're a teacher. Let's take kids to an abandoned church on top of a mountain and let them just run around like a bunch of rusty old nails and be like, oh, you're fine. The 60s. And so the kids were running around in the church, and apparently the church caught on fire. Now, we don't know why the church caught on fire, but there are theories. What are the theories about how the church ended up getting on to fiery place, Jackal?
The gunpowder catches on fire.
Could be from the gunpowder, because from the gun that Dally gave to them. McKenna?
Pony Boy cigarette.
It could be from the cigarettes that they were smoking that they left sitting around. It could be from a lighter that the little kids found from them because their stuff was inside. But they're pretty sure that if Ponyboy and Johnny hadn't been there, then there would not be a fire. So they feel they're definitely somewhat responsible for the whole place burning down. And there's real quick, being a teacher, there was part of the scene there that spoke to me and made me really happy. And it's when they're talking to the old guy that's the teacher, and his reaction when he finds out that there are kids inside. Let's see, where is it? Not to, there we go. I think it's page 88. Yes. No. No.
Yes. No.
I think so.
No. Yes.
Dang it.
No.
There it is.
Yes.
Did you sass me? Look at you. 91. I had it marked and the little thing fell out. There it is. Page 91. So they pull up, see the place on fire, and like, oh no, we probably started the fire. And the teachers are walking around there, and they're trying, especially because we just had a fire drill yesterday, and we have a fire drill. What is it the teachers are supposed to do?
Get your children together.
Yes, make sure all the children are safe, count you, make sure that's why they do the little attendance thing. So that way like you don't have a kid like hiding in the bathroom burning to death. But here, they get together and it says, I bet we started it, I said to Johnny. We must have dropped a lighted cigarette or something. About that time, a lady came running up. Jerry, speaking to the other teacher, some of the kids are missing. Oh, they're probably around here somewhere. You can't tell with all this excitement where they might be. What? What kind of teacher's like, hey, there's a giant thing on fire and we're missing kids? They'll show up. Reading this as a teacher, I was like, what?
So you mean like somewhere deep inside of you do have some small part of you that cares about us?
No, I don't want to get fired. And so that's all. I mean, I'm all for roasting kids too. But I was like, wow, that was a bold move on that guy's part. FC?
You do realize you were once a kid, you have children, and basically your entire career is based on kids.
I'm not following. The logic has no connection. Johnny!
You just said that you don't have anything against burning children alive on camera.
I did. Well,
Holy
when it's
crap.
truth, it's okay. And so, not all kids, just the slow kids.
You didn't say that, you said all kids.
I'm sorry. Well, obviously the smart kids aren't going to be hiding inside the place that's on fire. They got out. The other kids are still in there. It's okay. Let's see. And so 2 of them try to go run in there to save the kids. One of them being the teacher. And just kidding, not the teacher, because he does not care. But who does go inside?
Johnny and
Talk about Johnny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ponyboy
teacher
and
tried
Johnny
to
go
he was
running
too
inside. And the teacher does try to get in, but what stops him?
His waistline.
And so I visualize Winnie the Pooh inside the tree with like little feet kicking. So I have issues. And so that's what I was imagining happening. But then Ponyboy and Johnny run around saving kids, doing what you do when you save kids, picking them up and throwing them through windows.
Yeah, same.
Life goal. And so
But isn't there
just
like a
chucking
notice,
them.
like, why you don't have windows in your classroom?
Because every time there'd be a fire alarm, I would be picking up one kid like, safety! And just throwing them through. But that's why they gave me a room without one. It took me 3 years of throwing kids against that wall before I realized it's not a real window. Those first 3 kids, they're just now getting out of the hospital. But one of my other favorite parts is what happens to Ponyboy and Johnny as they're saving the kids. How do the kids react?
They bite
Get
him.
scared and start attacking them.
Yeah, they bite them like little piranha. When they go to pick them up, it goes like, "Arr!" Once again, in my imagination, I just imagine like Johnny like, "Arr!" and a kid like just flashing on the hand. I have problems. So, I'm shaking it like, and then like pulling the kid off and like throwing him. You know, awful. Just save him. I'm trying to find the happy parts before the bomb goes off. And then while they're in the process of doing all the saving, the bomb goes off. And what is the bomb that goes off in this particular part?
The roof collapses and lands on them.
The roof is falling down. And so the roof collapses, which would normally be fine because were there any kids left inside? No.
Yes,
Technically, there is. And who's our kid still left inside?
Johnny's still inside.
Johnny's still inside. And so when
Are you crying, laughing, or coughing?
Throw himself at the window.
he tries to, but apparently large, and they talk about the beam would be the large support beam, and apparently that falls and hits him and is on fire. Ponyboy gets out the window, but Ponyboy is
On fire.
on fire.
Johnny's like,
That dude is...
Ponyboy's on fire. Dally, being the helpful guy he is, what does Dally do?
Slap him
Hits
in the back.
him. And he's like,
Slaps him in the back, which apparently was like, because it's enough to injure Ponyboy and like knock him out. So anytime you guys catch on fire, that's how I'm gonna help. Not hits him. Well, once again, stop, drop, and roll. He definitely did the dropping him part. Then he did the drop, then stop, and then like rolled him. And then we're good. And then he goes in to save Johnny and pull Johnny out. Kniggle,
This is the only part where I like Dally.
because he is helpful. He
Why do
is
you
helpful.
hate Dally?
he knocks out. He's like,
I like Dally, but he's just my least favorite out of all the characters.
Steve would be my least favorite.
love-
Yeah,
That's all.
Steve.
Steve.
I mean,
Steve's
just
like
like
leaves.
leaves.
How he isn't even relevant to the story.
Yeah.
He's Soda Pop's best friend.
He's there.
Yeah, but it doesn't
wasn't
like
in the
Tony
story.
see that it would be.
Yeah.
The exact same.
Anyway, we're talking about kids dying. So we pull out Johnny, and then we get to go to the hospital. At the hospital, one of my other favorite parts is when Ponyboy's he finds Ponyboy's fine for the most part, and he's sitting out there in the waiting room with the teacher. And what is it Ponyboy tries to do sitting in the waiting room? Tries to start smoking. Because that's just what you do. And the teacher's like, hey, you shouldn't smoke in here. And of course, Ponyboy, of course, then looks for a sign. Doesn't say not to smoke. And the teacher's like, dude, you're 16. He's like, oh, that. Don't worry about it. And it's just like,
He's 14.
14. I apologize. How embarrassing. 16-year-olds that smoke up. 14-year-old, that's embarrassing. And so the fact that he tries to stop him was entertaining there. Jackal.
He just finished the book.
Yeah, I was watching. He was doing his best to completely tune me out while I was talking, and I was letting him go. It's kind of hard to stop him there. Next week, we're going to talk about the next several bombs that go off. Your next checkpoint is the end.